And we are rolling. Okay. Fantastic. Good stuff. Glad to have you back, everyone. If you're returning here or if this is your first time, welcome. You are here on the Hoplite channel. I, of course, am your host, Hop. And you clicked on this video, Samurai Lit, Taira Shigesuke, Part 3. This is the final part of the three-part series for Shigesuke. And we are picking up where we left off with Shigesuke, and I indicated in the last part to this gentleman I was going to talk a little bit more about him. And my research, unfortunately, kind of hit a dead end. I did not find much in the way of Taira Shigesuke's history. There aren't a lot of details known about him. But I did find something interesting, and maybe I could take you on a journey with me. Down the rabbit hole, as it were, and talk about the Kyoto Connection. Yeah, this is what you do when you're bored and you're on quarantine and you just have the internet and you just chase a few threads and see where it goes. So here we go. What do we know about our guy, Taira Shigesuke? Well, his full name, Daidoji Yuzan Shigesuke, right? We know that. He was born in 1639. That was from the first part. In Fushimi, which is in the Yamashiro district, which is in modern-day Kyoto. All right, that's one. Second thread. We know that his father, Daidoji Shigehisa, was an advisor to the Hojo clan. Okay. Now we know the Hojo clan had this as their emblem, which was the three dragon scales. Yeah. And the Hojo clan actually can trace their lineage back on the maternal side to the first shogun of feudal Japan. And the wife of the first shogun, she was from the Hojo clan. And as we know from history, the pre-Edo period in Japan, before the Tokugawa shogunate, we know that the seat of government, the capital, was Kyoto. Second thread. So the pre-Edo imperial court was in Kyoto, Hojo clan, Shigehisa, father of Shigesuke. All right, two threads. Hojo clan. Fast forward into the future, we see the Nintendo Corporation, right? Nintendo, I believe, means leave luck to the heavens. Okay. It was founded in 1889, and it was a toy company. But we know it today, as I said, if you're a kid who grew up in the 80s and the 90s, one of the most prolific video game makers in the world. Renowned. Their headquarters is in Kyoto. All right, thread 3. We're getting in the weeds now, getting pretty deep. What do we know about the Nintendo Corporation? Well, one of their hit games, which came out in 1986, I was a wee lad, but everybody knew this game if you were a kid. It was like Super Mario, Excitebike, Metroid, Castlevania, Legend of Zelda, the list goes on. We know that in Legend of Zelda, as I said, part 1, one of the main symbols was the TriForce. And actually, as you played the game, you tried to collect the individual pieces of this relic, the TriForce. It was magical. Okay, the TriForce obviously looks identical to the Hojo clan emblem. This is thread 4. What's the deal? Well, we know that the game developer and designer of Legend of Zelda was a man by the name of Shigeru Miyamoto. Where was he from? Well, he was born in Kyoto. So there we have it, right? We go from Shigesuke, right? He was born in 1639 in Kyoto. His father worked for the Hojo clan. The Hojo clan had the TriForce dragon scale logo as their emblem. The pre-Edo imperial court was in Kyoto. Nintendo Corporation, which developed games, was headquartered in Kyoto, still is today. And The Legend of Zelda, which used the same emblem as the Hojo clan, was developed by a guy, Miyamoto, Shigeru Miyamoto, and he is also from Kyoto. So it all comes together, right? We all see that this Kyoto connection between Shigesuke and the Hojo clan and Nintendo and Shigeru Miyamoto, it all goes back to Kyoto. So I've never been to Kyoto. I've only been to Tokyo, but I definitely would like to return to Japan if it wasn't for the god-awful 16 to 17-hour flight, especially if you're on the east coast of America. It's insane. I've flown the Pacific route many times to Seoul, to Tokyo, to Hanoi. I even went to Sydney, Australia. That was unbelievable. Went to Bangkok, Thailand. Those are hellacious trips. But when you get there, it's all worth it because it's a very cool country to visit. And I would like to see Kyoto because since I've seen the capital of Japan, Tokyo, in the Edo period, in the modern era, it would be neat to go to the other side of the island and see Kyoto. And I believe Kobe is also over there. Osaka is nearby as well. So you could see those three cities. But anyway, I thought that was kind of fun. I took us through the conspiracy theory of Kyoto and everything around the TriForce and Shigesuke. But enough fun for now, at least from my point of view. We'll get more to the readings of the Code of the Samurai, which is why you clicked on the video in the first place. Shigesuke, this was his magnum opus. Like I said, it was written during his time, and he lived about 90, but the book didn't really come to see mass publication until around the 1830s. But we're going to read some passages and we'll discuss, and as I always do, we'll put the reading so you can follow along as I go. All right, here we go. Let's jump in. And we turn to page 51, and this is under the title, the chapter Friendly Relations. Shigesuke said, "If you make a show of dependability for no good reason, showing up where you have no business, taking on burdens you shouldn't trouble yourself with, then you are called a meddler, a busybody. This is not good at all. Even if it is some matter you think you might take some interest in, if you are not asked, it is best not to get involved. If you are a warrior, once you have accepted a request for a favor, you have to take it upon yourself to do it, no matter how difficult it may be. Depending on how things go, it is not impossible that you may have to sacrifice your very life for your employer, your parents, or your brothers. That is why I advise against making a show of dependability without good reason." All right. What's he saying here? So, as the chapter indicates, friendly relations. Everybody wants to be seen as the good friend who's always there to lend a helping hand, who always is there to help you move your stuff, right? It's like, oh, you have a pickup truck? It's like, yeah, I have a pickup truck. It's like, well, you're my pal, so I assume you're going to help me move. And it's like, sure, I could do that. What time should I be there? Oh, we'll start around 6 a.m. You're like, okay. Well, I usually don't get up till around 8 or so, but whatever. And then you're there all day. What he's saying is if you hold yourself out to be this person, especially if you're a warrior, you stretch yourself too thin sometimes. And if you could be called upon by your parents or your country or your lord or your shogun to die, then you can't stretch yourself so thin that you are indebted to so many people for favors that you can't follow through on it. Because you want to be a samurai, a bushi, a warrior who makes promises and holds them solemnly. That when you make a vow or a promise to a friend or an ally to follow through on a task that you voluntarily take upon yourself, then you must do so knowing that it could lead you to possible difficulties or even impracticalities where it's like, hey, I wanted to do this for you, but I'm afraid I can't. If you take on this reputation of someone who always lends a helping hand but can't always follow through, some people might not come and seek you for these favors or for these tasks. So only hold yourself out to be of use for things that are of significant consequence and things you can accomplish, because then you will be renowned for having a reputation as someone who not only can be of aid, but will follow through every single time he says he will do so. Yes, we all want to give favors out to people, but if we stretch ourselves too thin and if we make promises we can't keep, then we only become as good as our promises are. And if we don't keep those promises, well then we are the keeper of broken promises, and that is not someone you want to have calling you a friend, or for someone to call you a friend as a promise maker, but a promise breaker. Bad way to go about life. So don't hold yourself out as someone who can constantly be of good service and good aid. Pick your battles, even on the battlefield, if it means life and death, but also off the battlefield when it means holding up your reputation. Okay. Next reading. We go to Fame. Yes, page 56. Shigesuke said, warriors of distinguished military achievement alone have their names recorded, even if they are of minor status. For those who died ignominiously and those who died gloriously, the pain when they handed their heads to the enemy was no different. Realizing this, the true attitude of a warrior is to determine that if you are going to have to give your life away, you may as well die heroically. Startling enemies and allies alike, regretted by employers and commanders, and honor to your posterity for all time. All right, so what's he saying there is that in times of war, there are those who have their names recorded and those who don't. In times of peace, it's very easy to have your name recorded for saying you will do certain things, or taking upon certain tasks that show you are a man of good character. But when the sword comes down and the person who held themselves out to be a hero and the person who actually followed through and dying a heroic death, that is where the true records are kept. And if you are going to throw yourself into battle, do not also throw your life away carelessly at the end by either begging for forgiveness or seeking some sort of reprieve. Because when the sword comes down, it will hurt just as much as it will for the person who does not ask for forgiveness or seek mercy or try to hide in fear, hoping that he will be passed over. The coward and the hero both die side by side and feel the same pain. But to die heroically, that is something that will outlive you, as so too will dying a coward outlive you. So your posterity has to look upon the end of your life as though it was brought to an honorable conclusion. Don't be the person who lives an honorable life but fails at the end, because in a samurai's life, the fame of being recorded in history as someone who died a samurai's death makes everything else prior to that death worthwhile. And everything done prior to that death, if it leads to a cowardly demise, was for naught. It was wasted energy. It was a farce. So he is saying here to the young samurai that if you're going to die, die on your feet. Because if you die on your feet or you die on your knees, the pain of death is the same, but those who remember you after you are gone, their memory will be different. And that's what you should fight for. Okay. Next reading. We go to page 99. And this is the last reading of the series. And this is under the chapter Self-Expression. And Shigesuke said, the knights of the warring states went into combat countless times throughout their lives, sacrificing their lives for their lords and commanders. They certainly would not do any boasting before they had attained great fame for their achievements. As for service in peaceful times, it's just a matter of how well you crawl around on tatami mats, rubbing your hands together and dueling with your tongue. There is no such thing as fighting for your life. Of course, when it comes to the attitudes of loyalty and duty, it makes no difference whether it is wartime or peacetime. These are official obligations of a knight in service. Whether that deserves any special reward as something extraordinary is entirely up to the overlord. All you have to do is be sure to do your own professional duty, and you have no reason to express dissatisfaction. All right. So I think this is Shigesuke trying to express his understanding to the younger samurai that are growing up in the era of the Shokoku, which is the national isolation of Japan during the Tokugawa shogunate. There were no great wars. The fantastic battles of old seem like distant memories. But he's telling the younger samurai that your duty to your lord should be seen as a new battle every day for you to observe your duty, to show your loyalty, and to fulfill your obligations. Duty fulfilled is its own reward for the samurai in this regard. So I think he understood that many were yearning for glory on the battlefield. Many sought to make a name for themselves in combat, but they must not overlook their ministerial day-to-day duties for their lord, because if they could not be depended upon in times of peace, rarely could you find a samurai who could be depended upon in times of war if during times of peace he was nowhere to be found when it came to observing the rituals, seeing to the Lord's work on his land, or keeping peace among his village as a extension of the government when it pertained to law enforcement. If he could not be looked upon favorably in these good times when there was not strife and combat, then you could not look upon him later and say that he would fulfill his duty even though he longed for it on the field of battle. And that's a good lesson, is that learn the small things now, because the day may come when combat, when warfare comes to your country, and you will then be able to say you are that much more prepared for that combat because you have been working on it every day during times of peace. You have been sharpening your steel. You have been honing your mind and your body for when that day comes, and you have been faithful to your Lord. That is what every samurai should be able to say before he suits up in his armor and takes the field of battle, and saying that I have done everything right for my Lord up until this point, and this will be the crescendo of my career. But if you cannot look upon your fellow samurai as disciplined and loyal to their Lord in peacetime, it's going to be very difficult to rally them around the Lord, the shogun, in times of war when all appears to be lost and people are dying. Right. Okay. That is it for Taira Shigesuke. I appreciate everybody hanging around for this third part. Yeah, this was just some fun I was having here. Not to be taken seriously, of course, but if you're into the conspiracy theory stuff, yeah, I could probably talk to you offline for several hours about other ideas I have. But I thought this one was fascinating. And Shigesuke with the Code of the Samurai, the Bushido-Shoshinshu. Yep, one of those books in the samurai literature series that happened during the golden age of samurai literature that definitely belongs on your bookshelf. And it's a quick read, as the others are. You will probably get through it in a day if you are really a page turner. So, as I said, that is it for Shigesuke. And we will work our way from this book to the Book of the Five Rings, which will be the last part of the samurai literature series, written by the famous samurai, incredible swordsman Miyamoto Musashi. So I definitely hope you all stick around for that. I do intend to make it worth your while and to do Musashi justice. But in any event, thank you for being here for this one. Appreciate it. Give it a thumbs up if you liked it, despite my brain fog on a couple parts there. And we'll see you for the next one. Subscribe if you like the channel, and tell family, friends, anyone you know that might be interested in this to give this video a watch as well. Till then, take it easy. Thanks.